Hello there, Jared the Dark Jedi here. As all of you are aware, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild are both on strike. And after some consideration, it has been determined that review content, like what is mostly predominantly makes up a lot of what we produce, is still going to be not considered crossing the picket line. It is still encouraged by the Screen Actors Guild, who established new terms additional to what was being asked to be complied with the WGA. What we do here, the conversations we love to have with a bunch of our friends, to have with you guys, is not possible. The stories we love to talk about, the stories that we love, do not get made without the blood, sweat, tears, creativity, and brilliance of the writers and actors. And currently, the studios who produce the things we love are working these writers and actors to death, not compensating them appropriately, and are trying to replace them with AI. I would think it goes without saying that the Nerd Academy podcast stands staunchly with the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, and we'll be supporting them from here until the end of these strikes in whatever way that we can. There will be links in each episode description so that you are able to see how you can help, where you can help, how you can donate to different funds to keep food in the belly and roofs over the heads of the writers and actors who are trying to make historic change in Hollywood as we speak. This review, this discussion, this news roundup, whatever the episode may be, was recorded during these strikes, and our love for the works of these writers, of these actors, will continue to be praised and discussed while they fight for their rights. And I want to implore everybody watching and listening to aid in whatever way they can. We stand in solidarity, and we ask that you do too. So, without any further ado,
hello, my friends. It is Aldo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Jared the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and first thing is first, I would like to apologize to patrons and listeners in general. I forgot to put out a Q&A post for this week. It's been a very long week. It's been a very busy week. I've been working every day. If I haven't been working, I've been visiting my family for my mother's birthday, which I'm not complaining about at all. Happy birthday, Mom. Belated, obviously, in terms of when you're hearing this. But I was tuckered out, and by the time I was in the weeds at work, didn't realize I had forgotten to do that, so I wasn't able to. So apologies for that. That will be corrected for next week. But we have a lovely show for you guys this week. We're joined by Regan, everyone's favorite Star Wars Twitter gulp shitto, and by Michael McCoy, the I don't know what to call it. He runs All Remaining Systems, a YouTube channel. He's the DM of Ionized Bastards. So that's all you need to know. So yeah, we have a lovely episode. I'm very excited for you guys to hear our conversation that we had. But first, you guys know the drill. Shouts out to our lovely sponsors at sundaysbloodymary.com. They have the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy. They have their 3 times award-winning spicy Caesar mix, They're traditional and mild mixes as well. And if you want to get your freak on and garnish that bad boy, you can go ahead and slap on that pickled dilly beans, those pickled asparagus, and those okra as well. Throw those in there and salt that rim while you're at it. Yeah. Go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout. Next week, I'll have that affiliate link set up in the description down below. And yeah, also a little bit of housekeeping for Patreon stuff. I'm trying to get my cursor over here so I can get that off the screen. A little bit of housekeeping for Patreon. I finally got my copy of the trade paperback of Star Wars The High Republic, The Blade. So what's going to be happening is there are going to be 4 episodes of the Versus series coming to the Patreon feed this September, and hopefully an episode of Heroic History 101. Scheduling has been chaotic. Thank you all for understanding. Very excited to get that out to you guys. Very excited to do Port Angle versus Count Dooku. I think it's going to be a kick-ass matchup, so I cannot wait for that. Yeah. So without any further ado, I'm going to go throw to past me for a lovely episode talking about episode 3 of Ahsoka, Time to Fly. Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic. Future me did all the intro stuff, so that was kind of redundant. But it's time. We're talking Time to Fly, episode 3 of Ahsoka. My God, we're almost halfway through this romp already. But I am not alone. I am joined by the One-Eyed Knight, the Lore Keeper, the Italian Stallion, the Cyclops with that dog in him. It's Connor Chiquiti.
Hello. The reason for my, if you're watching this, the reason for my display name is because we recorded this August 31st, and on August 31st, 2021, I lost vision in my right eye and haven't gotten it back.
In a Titanic lightsaber duel.
Basically, yeah, on the beach.
Lightsaber duel on the beach. Fucked up. Lost his eye like a boss.
Yeah. Talk Ahsoka. Still support the strike. That's all I got.
Hell yeah. Kaysen will be joining us at some point, allegedly. We'll see. But it is not just Connor, myself, and maybe Kaysen. We have some lovely guests on the show this week. First of all, you all know her as everybody's favorite Star Wars Twitter glupshido. It is Regoba herself, Regan.
Hello.
And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Sorry, I was just gonna say nothing happened to my eye 2 years ago, but but there's always time.
There's always time. Roughly 2 years ago, I officially became the partner of the most wonderful lady I've ever had the honor of knowing.
And we love her.
You know, life is life. To quote DJ Khaled, life is Roblox. Sometimes you lose your eye, sometimes you meet the love of your life. Speaking of losing your eye and losing the love of your life, like your eye, it is the DM of Ionized Bastards and host of All Remaining Systems himself, Michael McCoy.
It's Modelo time, baby. Let's go.
It's Modelo time.
It's always Modelo
Travis
time.
Grossman is proud of that can crack right there.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing excellent. I'm here in the new studio. This is Arse Killer Base 3.0.
Arse Killer. That's funny. Little fun little portmanteau there. Ionized Bastards Season 2 coming soon. We got to finish remaking my character sheet.
Again.
No, hold on. No, we're remaking my character sheet.
Yeah, but we had to do that in Season 1 too, so.
Yeah, but that one didn't count because that's an old game system, so I have a clean slate.
It still counts.
No, it doesn't. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, very excited to talk Time to Fly. Had a really good time talking about it on the live stream. We got bombarded by some interesting characters during that live stream. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch the after show. That was a great time. But yeah, Michael, I'll throw to you first, buddy. How are you feeling about episode 3?
Episode 3 was great. I don't think I liked it quite as much as the first two, but the first two still had that like fresh shock value of like being so overwhelmed emotionally of having these Rebels characters in live action now.
Yeah.
That like it can't have carried that momentum a week later in a 30-minute episode. Again, this episode was fantastic. I'm absolutely loving this show. It's hitting on all the weird Force stuff and Jedi stuff that I love when Star Wars hits. It's why I love things like the High Republic so much. And it's hitting that niche very well in a way that only, in terms of the shows, Kenobi has done for me before. So,
absolutely, I'm inclined to agree with you. I am loving Ahsoka. I think I think I'm at a similar excitement level of Ahsoka as I am for Kenobi, and because for me, I've said this before, Kenobi and The Mandalorian. I love those two shows, like the top tier in terms of the TV stuff. Um, but in very different ways. Like for Obi-Wan Kenobi, like it was all about myth and legend, like it was all about like the continuation and like really getting back to like, what can we do with modern Star Wars with with Obi-Wan and Vader and etc. And with The Mandalorian, I am just so deeply invested in Din and Grogu as characters that like that's where my investment comes from. Here with Ahsoka, it's this like amazing blend of the two for me.
mm-hmm.
Where it's like, I am invested in Ahsoka Tano's journey, and I am also like completely drawn in by the continuation of of her role in this overarching mythos. And this episode continued that. Ahsoka got to have an iconic and kind of like rite of passage moment as a Star Wars mentor of getting to have some moment where she goes, something, something, your eyes will deceive you, something, something, trust in the Force, something, something. Like every great Star Wars mentor has had a moment or two of those, and now Ahsoka gets to continue to walk in that lineage. I love it. Regan, how are you feeling after episode 3?
I will say, yeah, it was definitely the kind of manic high that I felt from the first 2 episodes, which really kind of, as soon as I saw a crawl, something just flipped in my brain and I couldn't act right for the rest of the episode. So I wasn't quite there. I wasn't like as tweaked as I was for the first 2 episodes. However, having said all of that, like it was candy this episode. There was just so much. And I feel like the one thing that this show, and it's only 3 episodes, has delivered really consistently is all of those just like those very idiosyncratic Star Wars beats that I just haven't been there. Even if I've enjoyed everything, they've been just kind of absent. They're there, and like just like even like in like the real practical looking explosions in this show, just like, oh, I was like losing my mind. It was an absolute delight for me. And I don't know, like, I mean, there are so many, obviously, like, seeing Jason Syndulla in live action, amazing. Like, I feel like I have a feeling that every episode we're going to get like just treats like that, and also a really good episode. The music, again, just like it seems to top itself every single time. Yeah. And it was short. It was like, I think it was only like a 34-minute episode, but it was packed. Like
three of those minutes at least are credits.
Yeah, and
it ends like 31 minutes, I think.
Mm-hmm. And it like there's not a second of it wasted, like all of it's really good, all of it's really interesting. It really hits me in like incredibly sentimental spots. I didn't feel that it maybe moved the story along as much as I would have liked it to, but I enjoyed it from beginning to end.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for me, episodes like this, where like we got to the planet, that was the big story beat. I think this episode was mostly revolving around character beats. I think a lot of this episode was like showing that even though Ahsoka and Sabine kind of butt up against each other as student and teacher a little bit, was showing why they could even do it in the first place, and their chemistry, which I think is something we're going to dive into a lot in this discussion. Connor, how you feeling about episode 3? And you can't just say neat or dope.
It's pretty good.
Oh, fuck you. I really thought you were about to stop there. I was
No, when it comes to Ahsoka, for me, I'm I don't know if this will ever like detach from this part of me. But it's like ever since finding out this show was going to be live action and not animation, there was always that small part of me that was just like, damn, I wish it was. And like, I don't know if that's ever going to really like, you know, disappear for me. So because like whenever I watch this show, every time something cool happens or, you know, conversations happen between these characters that we've grown to love, there's always that small part of me that's like, oh, I wish it was animation though. And so maybe that's sort of, what's the right word? You know, disjointed my experience a bit with Ahsoka so far. I just want to put that out there because others might be having the same experience. And I just, because like, I just haven't really, I mean, I've been enjoying the episodes, but I haven't been like head over heels about them. I've always just been like, that was pretty good. And that's it. I've had little to no motivation to rewatch them. Besides for Balin Skull. He's my favorite. I love him.
He has a cool cape.
I'm so sad that Ray Stevenson is not with us.
I know. We said this last week, and it bears repeating. Like, it is aside from the obvious loss of life, like, it is tragic for his craft that he does not get to hear the heaps and heaps and heaps of praise that, like, Balin Skull within, like, maybe, like, 5 to 10 minutes of screen time max has already become, like, ubiquitously one of the new favorite characters of this era.
And we still know so little about him and his motivation.
Yeah, and so much of it is in these like longing and complex and swaggering, but still sinister moments we get from him.
And like the thing is that I feel like number one, Ray Stevenson was just kind of he was a character guy. He was always the guy from The Thing, and nobody would have known his name. And like everyone will forever know his name from this. And he, it would have absolutely propelled him. But also, I feel like in what little we've seen of Balin so far, he does something with the kind of the trope of dimensionality, within the Force that has never been done before. And he does it so well and with so much nuance, and it's like, I hate that whatever happens next can't further his story, because he's just been masterful so far.
I know it truly, like, I am kind of on the edge of my seat to see what exactly will happen with Balin, and it's mostly in like a weird real world kind of way. Speaking of our villains, I want to talk about Shin Hati, who according to my better half lives up to the name. Lamel, for those of you listening, Michael just dabbed.
As I am wont to do.
As he is wont to do. I really enjoyed this episode on a level of like, this had so much Star Wars popcorn pulp in it, which I think is interesting. Like we had a good bit of like, we had some of that like yummy political intrigue that we all loved in Andor, mixed with just some like pulpy popcorn bullshit with the dog fight and Ahsoka like spacewalking and fucking deflecting. Like this is like a distillation of what Star Wars is supposed to be.
The way I talked about it, because I talked about this after the episode off mic, just hanging out with people like Scotty and Alden. We were talking about it, and we all agreed it felt like an episode of Rebels or one of those animated shows just done in live action. But if you had just copy and pasted it into animation, it would have worked exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And I one of the things that I think has become a pitfall of like Star Wars discourse, I've said this before, is that for some reason the fandom wants to pigeonhole every project into being either The Last Jedi or Andor or season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Right.
That there's this weird brain rot that it's either quote unquote subversive or like about something, which is so incredibly reductive. or it is like, oh, cameos, who's in the thing this week,
Right.
which again is a very reductive reading, I would say, of the Mandalorian. But Ahsoka, I think, is being like the ideal project that is straddling both of these. That is like, hey, this is like really weird, heady, like mythology within this world. Also, Ahsoka's in a spacewalk. Also, we have Hera begging like the effete liberal establishment to please, for the love of fuck, take the rising fascist threat seriously
Yep.
and
Yep.
fucking do something about it. And you
Also,
have,
here's a school of Purgle.
yeah, yeah.
It's very.
But I
rebel.
also felt that like last week, Scotty, when I was on Bombad, he made a big point of saying how
my
Phantom
condolences.
Menace-y he felt the first 2 episodes were, and I felt like this episode was kind of a mixed bag of so many things. I felt it had all of the political intrigue of like of the Phantom Menace. I think it had like all of the space battles of the original trilogy. And then it had so much of Rebels in it, and I loved that. And I mean, it didn't feel like it was trying to cater to everybody. I thought it did, and then like an idiot, I went on Twitter and I was all excited, and immediately it was just like, you can't make anybody happy. Ever.
I don't. People
Maybe
don't
I've just
like
curated
that
my
stuff.
feed. I just don't see anything but love for Ahsoka, but I also don't pay that much attention other than like outside of my close circle of friends and people who I know and like. So,
which is the smart way to handle things. But yeah, I do. So let's talk about the Force.
it's an energy field created by all living things.
Yes. That also has a cool little meter. That when you use too much of it, you gotta wait for it to come back up so you can keep using it to viciously kill people. Or so I've learned from video games. How are we feeling? And I'm just gonna open this up to anybody to chime in here about Dave kind of like going out of his way in one could say to kind of recenter conversations about how the Force works, because I know that we as a fandom have kind of like, and a lot of it was because of how George kind of delineated things with midi-chlorians, and that you need to have X amount of microorganisms in your bloodstream to be able to call on the power of the Force. How do we feel that like we're I don't even want to say recontextualizing it so much as we're like adding context, because not to sound like a dude bro and be like, oh, Dave Filoni and we trust, like he's the only one who can save Star Wars. Yeah, not to sound like chuckle fuck theory.
Kerfunkafuck.
Kerfunkafuck. But also like Dave is George's Padawan. And a lot like when you hear it from Dave, it may as well be coming from George's mouth. How do we feel about this kind of like recentering and coming back to that whole idea of anyone can use the Force? Because I have my own interpretation of like what that means and how like I don't think that's ever really been refuted in my opinion, but just kind of to the floor here as to anybody who has any thoughts on that.
That was definitely one thing that stuck out to me in this episode. And it didn't really stick out to me in like oh, this is an interesting way to view the Force way. It was more just like a reconfirmation of what we already knew. Because it always felt super obvious to me that like, yeah, we know everyone has the Force. It's just like,
yeah, it's kind of fundamental.
Yeah, it's kind of fundamental to Star Wars. So like, but like in the way that it was sort of done, where it was like everyone has the Force and like everyone can use it, you just got to open yourself up to it. It's like, okay, this is very reminiscent of the Rise of Kylo Ren comic where Luke is training.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And it's like, oh yeah, the Force is like I can't remember his whole monologue, but it's just like basically that 10 times better. It's so good. I think it's basically like the Force is like a door you know, some people have it wide open, some people have it maybe a little bit open, and you can open it wider. It's just like, you know, it's never closed shut.
Well,
So
I as I grew up, you know, I always felt, I realized later on in my life that the force was at least partly metaphorical, because I think as like all of us go through life, intention is so much the thing that drives so much of what we do. It drives our successes, it drives our relationship, and it's just, it's not hard to see so many examples now of what people are like when they are completely disconnected with themselves, with the universe, with the intention to do good or to make anything better. So I always, you know, as an adult, kind of thought it was metaphorical in that way, and it isn't really hard to see that Dave has lightly and sometimes ham-fistedly been writing an allegory in live action to a lot of the political events that we're seeing in this country, a lot of the things that are happening in this world. I think Andor was just a like a thinly veiled call to rebellion, and I think the way that he's framing the Force right now is it makes it more accessible to people who believe in nothing. You know, it makes it accessible in a way that maybe people who even feel overly hopeless, like, get that spark within them to feel that they might be able to connect with something greater. And Chris Ryan said on Twitter today that scene with Sabine and the cup was so relatable, not just because we've all done it after watching a Star Wars, but because like it's just, it's all of us trying to connect with something and failing a million times before we do, you know?
I love that. I that is very poignant, and I love that the metaphor there.
What I
And
kind of like about it, sorry to butt
no, no,
in,
no,
but
please, please, please.
like what I kind of like about it is, as much as we've talked about how like fundamental this idea is to Star Wars, it really hasn't been explored very much in terms of like not like explicitly Jedi or Force user characters kind of tapping into the Force. You get little bits of it here and there. You know, we got like Chirrut Imwe in Rogue One, who's like the best example of it. But outside of that, there's not really a whole lot of great examples, and especially none who, you know, still try and follow the Jedi path in spite of a lack of direct aptitude for the Force. And so this show really diving into it with a character that we already love, Sabine, is such a like a fascinating direction to take her character. It's such a great exploration of, you know, not just this idea of the Force, but also what makes a Jedi and what does it mean to be a Jedi. And that ties in obviously so well with Ahsoka's journey, as she's become very conflicted with her identity over the years as to whether or not she's a Jedi and where she stands on all that. So
No, absolutely. And I think I love that you brought up Chirrut, because, you know, my kind of like understanding and like my interpretation of force sensitivity. And Pablo Hidalgo tweeted something this week, something to the effect of like, you know, the term force sensitive has like kind of taken on this meaning of person who can use the force, and is always kind of been meant to be used as like a predisposed for talent within the force. And my interpretation has always been that like the factor that the midichlorians play is whether or not you can do Jedi shit. That like someone like a Chirrut Imwe is as tapped into the force as I think anybody could ever be, and is still, you know, calling on it. It is clearly aiding him. He has some like small like baseline telepathy and foresight in battle, and is able to call on it and channel it and have it calm him and guide him. But like Chirrut also isn't like force pushing like hordes of stormtroopers out of the way on Scarif either. And I think that's the difference. Is that like that midi-chlorian count is a matter of like, oh, you genetically have this trait that for whatever reason it has like opened you up more to being able to influence the Force and it influence you. And I think that Sabine, that my kind of understanding of like where she fell going into Ahsoka, I kind of just arrived at the conclusion that she must be borderline. That there must be some like she is on the cusp of you have enough microorganisms in your blood that you're like magic. But there's so few that you're not quite magic. But like magic enough we can fucking try, you know? And I think that, you know, I think it's a great thrust for Sabine. We talked about this last week that like she as a character, I think putting her in a situation where she has seen Ezra, she has seen Ahsoka, she has seen Kanan, and hell, she's even seen like Inquisitors and Vader and shit. Which just real quick, with regards to Sabine and Vader, for the Versus series a couple months ago, we did Kanan versus Reva, and I was rewatching that scene from the Siege of Lothal, where Vader kind of bodies the whole Rebels crew. I forgot that Vader kind of hysterically deflects a blaster directly back into Sabine's face, which is only funny because she has a helmet on and she's okay. But it's kind of hilarious, you know. Like that's the beauty of Star Wars, is sometimes you forget that some of these characters exist within the same universe. You know, like you kind of forget that somebody like fucking Babu Frick is in the same universe as like Luthen Rail, you know, like
Right.
you know, like,
yeah.
and there's moments where
Couldn't
it's
be
like,
more
oh yeah,
different.
like Sabine almost got her head blown off by Darth Vader, all of that. Anyway, that Sabine sees all of these Force sensitives, the Force users, these Jedi and Dark Jedi and Sith around her. And I think it's interesting and makes sense for her character that I think part of her, you know, reluctance to really give herself over to the Force is that she does not take as naturally to it. Because she is, I think, on some level comparing herself to people who are at a baseline on a talent level more adept, you know, because, and she's also, you know, in the case of like Ahsoka and Kanan, you know, obviously they weren't properly knighted, blah, 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 blah. But like she's watching like two essentially like fully fledged Jedi do their thing, and watched Ezra come up and Ezra kind of be a natural. So she's comparing herself to that. And I think that it's, again, a really fun place to begin the journey here. Is we're not doing it through the eyes of a prodigy. We're not doing it through the eyes of a Luke Skywalker or an Anakin Skywalker or a Revan or a Rey Skywalker, whoever, who like is kind of predisposed to being really kick-ass at this thing. We're starting with somebody who like shouldn't be able to do this by all accounts. And I think that's an interesting place to start. And like a lot of things about Ahsoka already, the show, that is, not just the character, it takes so many like Star Wars tropes and Star Wars ideas and inverts them. Like Scotty and I, Regan, you brought it up earlier, were very much on the same page with how much last week's episodes felt like the Phantom Menace, and a lot of that stemmed from the fact that, to me, like Baylan Skoll felt like a dark side Qui-Gon Jinn in many ways. And I am really liking the direction we're taking the Force and expanding on a lot of ideas that, as you said, Michael, we're kind of left up to, I don't even want to say interpretation so much as just like kind of left up there in the ether.
Yeah, like stuff we've established, but not really taken the time to explore because we have such like big quote unquote like hero characters that we've focused on. You know, like obviously you have Star Wars has a tendency to focus on the big Jedi for obvious reasons, and so having these sort of less proficient Jedi is a bit less common. You know,
well, you know, something that I also thought, and this could be way out of left field, it has been on my mind since the end of Rise of Skywalker, and more so since they announced Rey kind of being in the next trilogy. They, in order for Rey to restart the Jedi in a way that actually corrects all of the mistakes that Luke straight up admitted that the Jedi have made and that we know that we did, they really have to scrap a lot of things. They really have to throw out all of the convention of not just of the Jedi, but of the way that they use the Force, and the idea, like just like you said, like that it can only be in people who like just really have it and really feel it. Like I can't imagine that they're going to have Rey basically conscript infants in the way that they did, and I think that will be, they're building towards such a more interesting and like faceted like version of the Jedi who stumble with the Force in a way that makes sense, because when you're Luke and you're 19 years old and you got trained for like exactly 50 seconds by a Muppet who told you that it was your responsibility to save the galaxy, it makes sense that you might struggle with it. But here we're seeing somebody who like is given a little more time and actually, hopefully, knock on wood, has a master that isn't gonna die 20 minutes into this, like actually have to do what we all have to do when we are learning something that we truly want to be proficient at, and I think that is what the Force is going to be going forward. I think we both have to demystify it a little bit, but also allow people to see what it is when it only comes in fits and starts, when it only comes in a small drip instead of like a literally the roaring ocean that hit Rey in the face. So I ultimately think everything that we're seeing here is intended, just as we are ultimately going to see, we're going to follow through into the way that the First Order came to be. I think it is intended to rebuild our idea of the Jedi and of the Force from scratch, so that when she has to actually rebuild the Order, it's one that makes sense given everything she knows about how much they've fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's also interesting that Luke did not learn from this masterless generation of Jedi. Luke did not get to learn from the Kanans Jarrus and the Cals Kestis. He learned from two people who were like truly steeped in the culture of the Jedi circa the prequel trilogy. And it's something that like people were like, "Oh, Luke made all the same mistakes." Yeah, no fucking shit he did. Did you see who his teachers were? They
A
were
hand
the
puppet.
people. Of course, his teachers were the people who made those mistakes.
And also tried to teach him in 20 minutes on a ride to another planet.
Yeah.
Like
After feeding him nothing but Tic Tacs and baby carrots,
Yeah.
and stealing all of the taquitos from his lunchbox.
Oh fuck! I could go for a taquito. God damn! I want a taco now. I'm gonna make myself a buffalo chicken wrap when we're done. Anyway, no, and moving forward with a lot of like that student teacher stuff that you were kind of invoking there, Regan. I think one of the things I love the most about this episode is like seeing Ahsoka, like truly for the first time, getting to see her step into that teacher role, right? And seeing what it's like to be trained by Ahsoka Tano, where not only does she, as we alluded to earlier, she has her, how am I supposed to fight if I can't see? I deceive them, don't trust them, deceive them, don't trust them. That like you get that, oh fuck yeah, like this is Star Warsy as shit, which is great, but also it's in
That's
the
getting
execution,
clipped.
huh?
Oh fuck yeah, that's getting clipped.
Oh,
Like that's so perfect.
It better be. It better be. I'll be disappointed if y'all don't. But there's some there's the new flavor of like Ahsoka kind of doing this like poking and prodding. I want you to sense my intent. That I love. Again, I just love the restructuring, the reframing here, but also like as the episode progresses, that not only do you get the hey, you gave into your anger, you gave into your frustration, and because of that, I was able to put you on your ass. You were able to press the attack on me for about 30 seconds, and then I flattened you. This is how the Force works. You also see Ahsoka relent in a way that we've never seen Anakin or Obi-Wan or even Qui-Gon do. During the dogfight with totally, definitely for sure, Galen Merrick and Shin Hati, that whole moment of them deciding, oh, Michael dabbed again for audio listeners. That moment where Ahsoka goes, okay, I'm going to follow your lead. You tell me what you need me to do. That is so clearly like the behavior. I said this on like the call in talk back live stream this week. Everybody talks about how, like this handful of things I'm going to do differently than my parents because it didn't work with me. This is Ahsoka like healing generational wounds in a way where it's like, Anakin was such a fucking firecracker because he had to do everything Obi-Wan said to the letter, and because of that, Anakin went out of his way to do things Obi-Wan would never want him to do. And as a teacher, Anakin was also kind of overbearing, but in a different way than Obi-Wan, and sometimes gave Ahsoka too much freedom, or would give her not enough freedom and expect her to still make different decisions. Where here Ahsoka goes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow your lead. You tell me what to do. I have guidance, and then I can guide you in turn by doing that. And I think it's really interesting that I think a lesser writer, honestly, would have taken that scene and let the bickering recommence while the ship was fucked up,
Right.
while they didn't have power,
Right.
while Ahsoka was out there, and have it turn into an argument about getting her back in the fucking ship. But instead, they made the more interesting decision, which was now that like Sabine has been made to feel not lesser than as a student, but as an equal who's being taught, that she had autonomy in that situation, and they were yin and yang, they were peanut butter and jelly out there. Well, Ahsoka's doing this bullshit. It's like Catch Me If You Can. They were distracted by the pinstripes. They were distracted by the lightsabers. Sabine's actually able to fix the ship. She is able to implement her skill set while Ahsoka uses hers, and they work so well copacetically. Like, that is some of the best student-teacher shit we have seen in Star Wars ever.
Also, I think, again, and I hate to keep going back to this point, it also speaks to the fact that, like Ahsoka has an understanding that there's not value in entirely losing your identity in being a Jedi, in losing your identity in being in the Force. I think that part of Anakin's the thing that was always tearing him to pieces, and later on Ben to some extent, it was always fighting against things that were in the core of their being. And I think Ahsoka is much more amenable to allowing Sabine to be as she is, as long as she is willing to learn.
Absolutely.
And I think that is directly in the face of all the hubris of the Jedi, and I'd love to see it.
Yeah, and again, like it's and again, you can see like the takeaways each of the students in this lineage have from each other. Is it like Dooku comes away from learning from Yoda, and instead of like dealing in platitudes and do or do not, there is no try, Dooku becomes kind of like a hard-ass taskmaster. And what Obi-Wan and what Qui-Gon takes away from that is, well, when you're a hard-ass taskmaster, you spend a lot of time doubting yourself. So he kind of becomes this like hippy-dippy cool dude, motherfucker. And because of that, Obi-Wan lacks structure and doesn't know where to go. So Obi-Wan as a teacher is incredibly structured, and it is incredibly type A. It is incredibly kind of like, you must and because of that, Anakin is like this cool big brother who lets you smoke weed and watches R-rated movies. We're like, there's not enough fucking structure with him, but also he's like overbearing because he's Anakin fucking Skywalker, and he's got.
And also, there's a war happening.
And also, you're 14 and there's a fucking war. Like people are dying and you're in puberty. So. Like you can see the trickle down for each of these, like the student and master relationship. And Ahsoka's kind of the first time we see her go, oh yeah, I know what not to do. She took away from that, like, again, like, tell me what you need me to do and I will follow your lead. And I love that. I love the trust that is like right there immediately. And I'm so glad that we are not like you can still sense the tension, and you can still sense this idea that Sabine feels like a failed student, at the same time that Ahsoka clearly feels like a failed master.
But I think the benefit of having a character, and again, I can't say enough, all credit to Ashley. There is no Ahsoka without Ashley, but in the benefit of having a character that we essentially spent 10 plus seasons with, who was not just, didn't just like physically grow, didn't just have an arc, but honestly went like very, intricately through the process of maturing as a living being, is that, I think Dave has absolute respect for that, and it reflects in the way that she trains. This is, she is not one dimensional. The way that she trains it is a direct reflection of everything that we have seen her experience. It is a direct reflection of all of the mistakes that and the failures that she witnessed with her own eyes. And it has made her a stronger person, a wiser person, and just a markedly better teacher than almost, I think, any Jedi that we've seen train at all, at least on screen.
I mean, for what we've seen so far, absolutely. It's the biggest hurdle she has to overcome is Ahsoka's own self-doubt. I think there is absolutely a part of her that views herself as this Jedi washout that is still carrying this unjustifiable burden of guilt for the decisions Anakin made. And in Sabine, I think, like we said, I think there's an insecurity there, both in terms of she saw like capital J Jedi doing capital J Jedi shit all the time. And she also is, I think she also feels like a washed-out student. She wanted to live up to what the example Ezra set, and she didn't do it. She couldn't, and at least in her own mind. Before we move on from the Sabine training stuff, I want you all to know. I said this on the Talkback live stream. I want to reiterate it here. I was exactly as obnoxiously excited for the sword form kata shit with Huyang as everybody watching and on this call thinks I was.
The second it happened, I'm like, oh, Jared's erect right now.
I were you on this? Did I get to tell you personally, Michael, how I reacted to it?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So Ahsoka walks through the door, and Huyang is just like, like all of this, like all of this space sword bullshit Huyang's saying, all this gibberish that means how you're swinging your sword in space, and like the door opens, and he's just like doing these commands as Sabine is doing these like katas and these forms, and I kind of unwillingly just start screaming nut, and Taylor's like, what are you nutting about? What the fuck is he saying? And I'm just like,
what are you nutting about?
I don't know what he's saying.
I was like, he's doing sword shit, man. To use a wrestling term, when Star Wars gets sweaty with lightsabers, I turn into an absolute mark, and there's no two ways about that. I mark all over the fucking place because I love when Star Wars gets sweaty about lightsaber bullshit. I fucking do. It's my favorite shit. It's my favorite shit.
That might be like two of the greatest sentences I've ever heard.
Oh my god. I got so excited. They were using wooden sticks in this episode, and I was losing my motherfucking mind. And let me tell y'all, next week, it is all of your problem, because we are getting at least 2 or 3 fucking lightsaber duels in one episode. Because we're in that forest, so that means Ahsoka versus Merrick, fucking Shin v Sabine round 2, and Ahsoka versus Balin featuring everyone in the Order knew what Anakin Skywalker, if you lived to see what he became. Like, all of that is happening next week. So it's going to be a Darth Vader name drop and 3 lightsabers, three lightsaber duels, one of which involving an Inquisitor. Fuck all y'all. You can't tell me shit next week. I'm going to be so fucking annoying. with how excited I am for next week. I am just going to be bouncing off the fucking walls.
Maybe that should be the one that we watch party.
I don't think anybody wants that.
I just dabbed again for the listeners.
I don't think anybody wants to be in the same room as me when next week happens. I like everybody at Quicksilver Girl, everybody just starts sending her condolences on Twitter. But she has to be in the same room for me for 3 lightsaber duels, one of which is with an Inquisitor and one that will involve a name drop of Darth Vader. Shouts out R.A.P. Taylor. With moving forward here, before we jump into the World War II dogfight of it all, y'all, we saw Jason Syndulla in live action,
and it wasn't terrible.
He doesn't look bad.
No, he doesn't look bad at all.
He's not an abomination to my psyche.
So I think
he's not an abomination to my eye.
To mine eye. It's a shame Spencer couldn't make it this week. One of my favorite things is because Spencer's a pious man, and he doesn't like to cuss. So he has a habit of going my eye instead of my ass. And every time, Connor, you make a joke, I just hear him, my eye. Anyway, so Jason Syndulla first. I think it's interesting. First of all, there's going to be an interesting dichotomy because I think a lot of people love to make fun of like the chubby, terrifying, jolly green giant looking motherfucker that we got in the Rebels epilogue. And
I don't know anyone who makes fun of it.
Huh?
I don't know anyone who makes fun of it.
Stop.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Michael is dabbing for he got the first Alex Jones clip of the episode.
Hey, Lamau.
I am proud of the Star Wars fandom, words you will not hear me say very often, that we all agreed quietly, without there having to be some type of like referendum on our behavior, decided that even though Jason looked great, that we did not find a way to say horrible fucking things about this real world child. Because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah,
that's growth.
I sat out leading up to Ahsoka coming out of a lot of Jason Syndulla's a goofy looking fuck.
I mean, I don't want to take this conversation in a wrong direction.
No,
but
please
like,
do.
Ever since, again, I'm on the wrong side of Twitter very clearly, but ever since I literally threw my computer at that tweet about like speculating whether or not Vivian Lyra Blair's Leia would have had an affair with Obi-Wan at any point, I no longer trust any part of this fandom with the welfare of children at all.
That was traumatic when you just brought that back to the front of my brain.
I'm so sorry.
You know what, guys? I think this is a teen app first.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
I think that's the first time we've gotten Sad Alex played back to back that quickly. Good God, I hate it so much.
There's so many things I want to say right now that I will not say.
Death to all of them.
Basically that.
Death to all of them doesn't get enough play, and that's my fault. No, I was impressed. I was happy with this. This kid's hair needs to stay over his ears because, that's going to be the sticking point. Because if he doesn't have the weird, luck of the Irish fucking, green foliage coming out of his ear, that's when people are going to be like, oh, it's a disrespect to animation and Dave Filoni hates fucking cartoons now and fucking kick the puppy. But just keep his hair covering his ears. But yeah, it's surreal. It's surreal that we saw Jason Sindola in live action. Like, I am having the same reaction to seeing Jason Sindola in live action the same way I was like beside myself seeing the Grand Inquisitor in the first trailer for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
Where I was like, this is fucking bananas. This is insane and should not be happening. You know,
because Jason Sindula has also been one thing where we wonder how much it will really be acknowledged going forward, because there is so much question as to what happens to him in the sequel era, and the speculation of like, was he one of Luke's students? And so I like that we haven't just forgotten Jason, and there is clearly like maybe not a definitive path for him going forward, but we haven't left him behind.
Well, one thing that I saw somebody say that kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies, because that speculation has
no Jedi left behind.
But like, because that speculation has existed forever, and obviously since like the inception of the Mandalorian, everyone's had that same speculation about Grogu. Somebody was like, well, we've been wondering that forever. And certainly if, like, they're going to want one of Luke's students to be somebody that you have an emotional attachment to, and it's not going to be Grogu, because he will always be a moneymaker. So it stands to reason that they're going to get the audience warmed up to Jason and connect with him, only to drop that bomb, because it'll be easier to do.
Quite literally.
It'll have the impact, but you won't lose the marketing.
I think there's also something to be said for the fact that, okay, this is a hot take, and one that I dare not utter in a certain group chat for fear of a certain tapestry man. I love the sequels. The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. And I'm not a they needed a plan type guy, because George Lucas was making shit up as he went with the OT.
And the PT.
And the PT. And the PT. But mostly the OT. The OT is like the real egregious, like, hey, fuck you, I had an idea. And that's fine. Shit like this is when I wish there was a little more foresight. Because I think if there had been a different structure, and this is fully like Monday morning quarterbacking, whatever. Jason Sindula could have had a very fascinating role within the sequel trilogy narrative. No, don't fucking shake your head at me. Characters like Jason could have had a very like being one of like Luke's students that made it, or fucking knowing what the hell they were gonna do with Ahsoka. She could have had a fascinating role to play within the sequel trilogy. And I think there's a lot of characters that we're just kind of like going to cross our arms and go, I wonder what's going to happen to them and how fucking sad it's going to have to be inevitably.
Right.
And part of me hopes that there is a landing pad in place within the narrative. Because I don't want to just wonder. Because we still have 30 fucking years before The Force Awakens. We still have like around 30-ish years before the annihilation of the Hosnian system and the rise of the First Order and Kylo Ren becoming the Supreme Leader. We still have like 3 decades to go. That's a lot of fucking time for this young kid to like become a Jedi or not. And there's just certain things that I'm like, oh, like there could have been like a little more cohesion here, like not even between the movies. I'm not here to litigate like whether or not the sequel trilogy internally is cohesive. Within the narrative, I think there's a lot of like lost opportunities that you just can't circle back to at this point. And that's going to happen. You have to call your shot. And, the nature of Star Wars is a multimedia narrative that will constantly be readapting itself around new ideas and new concepts that will give greater context to other narratives and media, and also recontextualize other things. So like, it is what it is, but like part of me is like, ooh, this could have been something. But it's neither here nor there. Amato Ziono's a fucking asshole.
Can I just also say that that's just a trope that I feel like I'm a little tired of, though.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just there's always like yeah, you know, like there's always in any political storyline, there's always, which is, you know, whatever, it's true of reality. There's always the senator who's not completely a villain, but just is an asshole. And I know that's necessary to move the story forward. I'm just quite tired of it, you know.
See, that's interesting to me, because for me with Star Wars, I find that refreshing. I find it refreshing within Star Wars to have someone who's just a dick and not a villain.
I mean, I understand that, and like you know, I think like the very dry political side of Star Wars it's very reflective of how that is in life, and there are, you know, the world is rife with politicians who are not necessarily villains but are absolutely dyed in the wool assholes. I also think that like I don't know, for some reason it's really important for them to like always make Mon Mothma seem just a little bit choked by the people that are supposed to be supporting her. And I'm a little tired of that as well. You know, I understand why it's necessary, but it's just like nobody can spend their whole life like that, you know, like nobody's entire career, except maybe AOC, could be that like all the time.
You know, that is an interesting take on it. You know, I think with with Mon Mothma, I love Mon Mothma, but like in a world where I find myself more sympathetic to Saw Gerrera than Mon Mothma. You know, like I would rather be like carpet bombing Imperial facilities than even wasting 30 seconds in the Imperial Senate trying to massage an ounce of decency out of anybody in that building. And for me, I see Mon Mothma, like her arc. It's fucking wild. Mon Mothma has an arc over the course of like a fucking 15-year conflict. But
in spite of her 30 seconds of screen time in the films.
Not despite, in spite of the 30 seconds. That like she is always trying to do this kind of like centrist liberal thing, you know, that like I see Mon Mothma as the type of like Democrat who was like very invested in the act of like trying to reason with a Trump Republican.
Yeah.
Of trying to be like, well, don't you think it's kind of mean to call this group of people a horrible thing and build a wall about it? Don't you think that's mean? Haven't you thought of the norms? Haven't you? Sir, there is an emoluments clause. Have you not thought of the emoluments clause? That's what I think of fucking Mon Mothma. Like,
I think she's very much though, like she is the politician who is always, you know, trying to do things by convention. Like she's, you know, she understands that change needs to happen.
She
but
fucking
I do
loves the West Wing.
I do things the way they, you know, I do things the way that they have to be. And Saw Gerrera was the guy reacting to things the way that they are. You know.
Now, to play devil's advocate, though, most of the time we've gotten with Mothma, at least on screen, is now pre-rebellion and post-rebellion.
Yeah.
We've gotten very little actual rebellion Mon Mothma,
Right.
by which we are judging her.
Right.
And that's fair. But like for me, it has always been this matter of like her character is kind of ruled by this, you know, again, where the moments where she has a character, like barring Jedi, obviously, where she's just there to tell us that a bunch of Bothans died.
Many
Bothans.
Bothans, not a bunch.
Many.
I know, fucking Eli woke up in a cold fucking sweat. Fucking Alden's coming through here to fucking challenge that question.
I'm sick of being called a grifter. I'm sick of.
Anyway,
that's Alden in Epic Confrontations in a nutshell.
I totally didn't just compare Alden Diaz to Roger Stone. Oh,
Big Chungus.
Big Chungus to Roger Stone. Anyway, but like I don't know. I find myself constantly frustrated with Mon Mothma, and part of it is just that, you know, like, stop trying to, like I said, massage decency out of people.
Leave Perrin alone. Let the man gamble.
Yeah. Leave Perrin. You know, I just fuck. It's not fuck her, but like fuck this. But it is what makes her character fascinating. Yeah, I love the fact that we are gonna watch the New Republic try to go to brunch in the face of the First Order, and it feels way too fucking real, and I love it, and I'm sad about it. Any other thoughts on the New Republic politics thing?
I like, there's just such a weird, necessary only for the story kind of impotency about it. Like, this wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, what's weird to me is that when like the Imperials fell, this is effectively like the end of Nazi Germany. You know what I mean? Nobody would be this casual about anything. Nobody would be like, you just wouldn't like in reality, you wouldn't just be like, well, whatever. There's Nazis in absolutely every layer of industry. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, you know, I understand again.
Sure about that.
But I understand again why that is necessary from a story standpoint. But I hate when people like, you know, when politicians, when people who are faced with literally rebuilding the galaxy after a conflict that costs so many lives and, you know, and changed the face of the galaxy forever. Like, I hate when they just behave like nobody would behave in that situation. I hate when they're like overly casual about things and overly cavalier, you know?
I mean, I hate to say it though, but like, that is the real world. That is like that's what we saw happen here in November of 2020. Right. You know, I make this joke all the time. Everybody was like singing and dancing in the streets when they called the election for Biden. And then you had people making jokes on the internet. Oh, it looks like the end of Return of the Jedi. I said, yeah, it looks exactly like the end of Return of the Jedi. I have really bad news for you that there's 3 more fucking movies. And I hate to break it to you, but Joe Brandon did not win the Battle of Jakku, motherfucker. Like, we're not there yet. We are in the middle of the fucking Mandalorian. And like, so for me, like, you know, Joe Biden got elected and everybody started trying to be like, oh, Republicans are going to go back to normal now. They're going to calm the fuck down. Like a Ron DeSantis and a Vivek Ramaswamy and a Trump part 2 later, it's still the fucking same. So like, I understand that on some level it's frustrating that like these characters kind of have to be incompetent for the First Order to rise. But by the same token, we're watching it happen right now, you know? So like, that's like, for me, like, that it is the least realistic thing about the slow, like, nodding off of the New Republic is that like, there are this many people going, hey, fuck. Oh no. Oh fuck. Look that way. They're still here. Shit fuck damn.
Shit fuck goddamn.
Shit fuck goddamn. Goddamn shit fuck damn.
And it's also indicative of you know, if we ignore the problem, it'll go away.
Yeah.
Like, if the like insistence that if you don't give a thing attention, it will just fade away. And that's what the New Republic is very much facing. It's a matter of hubris, first of all, of well, we already won. What else can they do now?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, we danced with teddy bears and they blew up. And there's also like there's also Star Wars does not get into like class shit very often. But like there's also this hold on. Let me just if we're gonna have this conversation. Anyway, Star Wars does not get into class shit very often, but there's also something that again, the Mandalorian, the dumb fucking baby Yoda show that is so stupid compared to Andor, was talking about how it's always the fucking war profiteers, it's always the people who aren't affected directly by the rise of fucking fascists who get to say shit like, is it the Republic or the Empire? Or are we back to the Empire? I can't tell. Fucking people like that, the enablers of fascism, it doesn't affect them. Like, and it's everybody from the people who couldn't give less of a fuck, like a Hamado Ziono, all the way up to the fucking pieces of like elite dog shit who were palling around at the goddamn summit that Connor held in the Mandalorian last season. It's all of that. It's all of that
like
leading to this.
Something I've written, and hopefully one day soon we'll let you guys read. Like something that I've written in a kind of post sequel trilogy story that I've been working on is the idea that it's really important for people to realize that Palpatine, he wasn't all powerful, and he could never have done what he did without so many greedy, soulless people just being willing to be complicit for $1. Like he could not have accomplished any of his goals without so many people just looking out for their own ends. And ultimately, I think that's a moral that shouldn't be lost in Star Wars, because it's really important for people to understand today.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. That comes up a lot. It's a big thing with the Bad Batch. Was it like Sid's big betrayal? That's this other animated show that's on Disney Plus, Michael.
Oh, I was really fucking confused as to what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's the clone show.
That's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah. You're here to hear first, folks. Multiple sources have confirmed that Michael McCoy is a fascist sympathizer and refuses to watch the Bad Batch.
I just don't enjoy it.
I know.
And so I don't watch it. You know how we often say if you don't enjoy something, you shouldn't watch it. To all those people who don't like Star Wars, I follow my own advice.
You do, but we like to make fun of you for it. Oh, okay. I just got a very important text on that Epic Conversations from Eli. Okay, then that's interesting.
Was it because he just awoke in a cold sweat a few minutes ago?
How many fucking droids? Or how many fucking Bothans? Anyway, but so moving on here to kind of like the closing this episode and the episode's ending itself. I am not a ship guy. I've never been the type of person to nerd out over fighters and star cruisers and shit like that. The ones that I think look cool, and they make me happy. And sometimes the ships kind of go boom, 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 and it's cool and stuff. This was kind of one of the best fucking starfighter dogfights ever.
It absolutely was.
It was on steroids. Now I want to throw to friend of the show, recent guest on our nearly 4-hour long epic part 1 of his DC Cinematic Universe, Mr. Radtastic, our friend Dave. Check him out on TikTok. He was on the show. He was on TNAP very recently. Dave, I saw your TikTok, and I think he saw this thing where he paused it with the captions on the screen at the exact moment where Morgan Elsbeth said, prepare the turbo lasers. And he had this kind of lamenting tone where he was like, Star Wars, I know that's what they're called. I know I know that's the name of it. And I know that's been the name since the 70s. I don't think we can go around in live action saying things like "prepare the turbo lasers," and to that I say, you only have to worry about not saying "prepare the turbo lasers" if you're a fucking coward. I'm sorry, like first
Turbo
of all,
blast them.
what'd you say?
I said turbo blast them.
Turbo blast them. Well, listen, here's my thing about the turbo lasers thing. I think it's all a matter of intonation. They are not turbo lasers; they're turbo lasers.
Turbo
They
lasers.
Yeah. Oh, turbo laser. Oh,
Beaumont Ken over here.
yeah, come on. C'est only the signal. Fucking Pepe Le Pew in the fucking Lord of the Rings guy. No, it's a turbo laser because it's a blaster turret that shoots real fast. You know,
See,
it's
I also
fun.
think it's such a weird conceit. It's like if you really think that something like that can't be said in live action, I don't know what Star Wars you started with. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
We have a
I
prominent
don't
Star
wanna shit on
Wars
Dave too
character
much.
named Dooku. I don't care.
Okay, maybe this is just me. I've never seen the problem with Dooku. I've never understood.
Well, you know,
I have-
except when he was badly green screened on the Walmart scooter. You know,
Yeah.
like
I have. I have never fucking Regan. I have never understood why people talk shit about his name. I never got it. I've never understood. People are like, well, like, is it because like I seriously am like, is it because it's like 3 letters away from being Dookie? Is that
Yes.
it? Is that
Yeah.
really it?
And just the sound of Dooku. Like
It
there's
also-
something
it sounds
about
like
the two
poo-poo,
ooh
like,
sounds
yeah.
next to each other. Like
He's-
poo poo.
But shut the fuck up. He's one of the best characters in all of Star Wars.
Inconsistent.
Count Dooku.
Dog at 12.
I don't know if I didn't love him before and didn't love him from the books, like Tales of the Jedi, absolutely like elevated him for me. And you know, like it's very difficult for me to even see him as a bad guy because he was just, you know, objectively correct about so many things. So.
Until the Clone Wars.
Until the Clone Wars, right? Exactly.
Until, as I love to say, they decided they needed a villain who was so cartoonishly evil they were going to carpet bomb little cute monkey people. And the Separatists.
And also, I don't know if you ever saw that thing, like with that mental image of him, like between takes, like listening to heavy metal on his headphones and doing long stretches with his legs. And like, there's a story where he had like his legs, he was listening to heavy metal and he was holding his ankles and like had his legs up in the air, Christopher Lee. And I've never been able to like get that image out of my brain. That is how I picture Dooku all the time.
That's how I prepared to get on this podcast.
I'm still getting over a cold. Don't make me laugh like that.
Don't tell me what to do.
Shut up. Anyway, but no, the dogfight in this episode was fantastic. We got to hear Marok speak, which was cool.
He's
and
Sam Witwer. Let's all be real.
I know
He's
why are so many people thinking he's Barriss Offee now? Like, where did that
I don't understand the
Regan.
Barriss thing anymore, because if Barriss Offee was going to be an Inquisitor, we would have already seen something from her as an Inquisitor at this point. We literally already had another female Miriel an Inquisitor, and it was not her.
So I do want to address something with it being with Sam and Marok. I had a tweet kind of pop off. Hey, he's back. I had a tweet kind of pop off this week about how everybody needs to stop saying that Marok is Galen Merrick because it's probably Sam Witwer. I just want to make it abundantly clear. I never said it wasn't Sam. I'm just putting this out there now. I'm doing preemptive damage control. I never said it wasn't Sam. I said it's not fucking Starkiller. But that's definitely fucking Sam Witwer.
Oh, it's 100%. And
whatever his second line was the second I was like, yep, that's totally him, because the way he said it, even through the voice filter, it's like he's doing his Maul.
Yeah,
voice.
it's
You can hear
obvious.
the accent and the kind of cadence behind it.
Yeah.
But I do sort of feel bad only because, like, yeah, I don't think it's Starkiller either. But like, if it is Sam with a face reveal and it's not, I feel like that is gonna. I mean, there is especially a segment of the fandom menace that is just not going to recover from that ever. You know.
I mean, it is a George level fucking troll.
I hope they don't recover from it.
It's a George level troll if it is, though. Like, Dave was like, Sam, you're going to play a dark side force user named Marok, who is part of a group of fucking dark Jedi who were personally trained by Vader. But it's not Galen.
And you're also the least important of the three, and you will likely die in a very insignificant way.
Yeah.
You're in, right?
Yeah, but that's so. But tell me, that's not the most Dave shit ever.
Oh, 100%.
That's not. I'm sorry. It's the most George shit ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it is him having Jar Jar look right into the camera in Attack of the Clones. He's like, "I'm still here, bitch. Misa not going anywhere. You guys are stuck on this dick." You know, like it's that. It's that. It is the working title of Attack of the Clones being Jar Jar's Big Adventure. Where Dave went, oh, you guys want Sam Witwer to play Galen Merrick in live action? Well, here's Sam playing Merrick, who was also trained by Vader, kinda. Fuck you, fanboy. You know, like, and it goes all the way back. One of my favorite things ever was like listening to the old audio commentaries on TCW on the DVDs. Because Sam was on the audio commentary for like that Ventress bounty hunter episode where they're on the fucking train. And there's a scene where Ventress uses repulse and knocks a bunch of guys off this train. And Sam Witwer kind of giggles and goes, hey, that's a Force Unleashed power, isn't it? And Dave just kind of goes, nah. So, like, I am convinced that Dave Filoni has a deep disdain for the Force Unleashed, but loves Sam Witwer as an actor. And this is his ultimate fuck you to Galen Merrick, a character whom I do think could be adapted into the canon, a character whom I love and will go to bat for as being way more interesting than the Dude Bros make him seem.
I mean, I just feel like for myself personally, the guys who only buy the action figures that are exclusive to GameStop are just not the people that I'm overly interested in pleasing with these shows, because they tend to have the worst opinions about Star Wars. However, I don't know. It's just like there's so much, like, I genuinely feel, I mean, yes, it is the most brilliant, beautiful chef's kiss troll. I genuinely feel bad for them because, like, they've been beaten off to the idea of this like forever, and you know, it's like, it's literally like Dave is like caressing the sack and walking away, you know. It's
dude, like, I mean, hey, as someone who loves Galen and loves Ahsoka, the idea of pitting Darth Vader's apprentice against Anakin Skywalker's, it writes its fucking self. You know, like, you know, I think it's one of, again, like, I wish, you know, again, a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking, that like they had kind of like taken pause with the Inquisitorius and gone, okay, we can bring Galen back in here in this way and kind of go from there. Because I think it would have been really fascinating, and you could have teed up an opportunity for Vader's apprentice to face Anakin Skywalker's. It would have been cool. That's not the decision they made, and that's fine. It's a George level fucking troll. It is George tier to go, fuck you. His name is Merrick, and now he's dead. Seethe.
Check out this irrelevant character we threw into the death pit. He's your favorite.
My thing too is also if they were willing to like to give Matt Lanter a face character that like, I mean, I know Sam is on a little bit on a different level because he's just so involved in so many aspects of Star Wars. But like, yeah, I really don't put it past anyone to have it happen that way. You know, I also don't put it past it to have him die and never get his face revealed. But it does get revealed that it's Sam Witwer, you know, just to make people even more annoyed. But
Because it is continually confusing to me because we've had the master apprentice dynamic so like fleshed out in the series, and obviously that's with Balin and Shin, and Merrick just seems like this third odd man out that doesn't really have a place, which makes me assume he's kind of just there to be a guy who gets killed, you know.
But unless I'm wrong, because maybe look, my eyesight's not great. I also noticed like his saber also pure red as opposed to Balin and
he's
Shin.
He's an ex-inquisitor, yeah.
Right, but I feel like that he's also there. He's also there to I don't what's the word, like to kind of show that like for contrast, to show that dichotomy even more, you know. And I think that there's no way that won't play out at least a little bit in a more meaningful way, you know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Perhaps, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing it. If I have one very nitpicky complaint about Ahsoka, it's that those lightsabers are getting less and less orange every time we see them. Like I wish it was vibrant fucking orange. I do. I think it. I thought it was cool I thought it was weird when we first saw them, and then Dave's like, oh no, they're very deliberately that color, and like every trailer, every TV spot, and now that the show is here, they have just turned more and more red, and I'm mildly miffed by it. As silly as it may be, I think it's frustrating that they kind of cut that like cool thing at the knees, like just let them be orange. But no, and we talked earlier about like the dynamic between Sabine and Ahsoka in this moment. I also do here want to call attention to just how great David Tennant's performance as Hu Yang has been up to this point.
100%.
Absolute scene stealer. Some of the funniest bits in the show have been from the very dry humor that Hu Yang brings to the table. The whole him shutting down and waking back up like, what did I miss? It was just it was played so well. And again, I think it was a comedic beat that that could have fallen on its face had it not been framed and acted in the way that it was. God damn, I love this show. I love it. Connor, we lost you there for a minute. Anything to say here before we kind of bring it home?
Shin is super cool. I love the actress. She's great. The whole like hyperspace ring type deal that Morgan Elsbeth has going on is
the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, the Eye of Sauron is super cool.
Oh no, we lost Michael.
Oh no.
Oh geez, his Wi-Fi probably cut out too.
No, it didn't. I removed him.
I'm aware. That's the joke. And like I said before, Balin Skull. I can't get enough of him.
He was barely in the episode. He was still the coolest motherfucker in the room.
Yeah, because it's like I can't like. I'll have to go back through Ray Stevenson's filmography because I know I think he was in. Wait, I think he was in The Other Guys.
Perhaps I know he was.
Yeah,
I know he played.
I think
Punisher.
he was in The Other Guys.
I know he's one of the people who's played Punisher. I believe in Punisher Warzone.
Because I just want to check his other stuff out because all I really know him through was Rebels.
Yeah.
And now Ahsoka, and it's just like, damn, it's always cool seeing the actors that like are not known, at least to me, like not known for like actual acting. Like everyone with Andy Serkis, everyone's like, oh, he's the mocap guy, but like, dude, him as Kino Loy, I could get used to way more Andy Serkis actual acting. I could get used to it, dude. He's fucking
amazing,
phenomenal. And it's the same way I wish with Ray Stevenson, where it's like, may he rest in peace, but it's like, damn, dude, he just kills it every time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you get these character actors, you put them in a leading spot, and it always fucking works. It's I love. It's very Star Wars too, you know, to take your unknowns and let them just fucking run the show. Yeah. Michael, here I got a question for you.
What is your question?
Is there any way that perhaps Ahsoka is already affecting ionized bastards?
Perhaps.
Okay.
Perhaps not.
Okay. I just want to reiterate, I did it before Dave did with my marauding former Inquisitor, Dark Jedi, morally complex character. It was Fabian, then Balin, then Merrick.
But who will meet their end first, Merrick or Fabian?
Hey, now, just hey. Just because I came up with a backup character recently does not shouldn't give you any fucking ideas, Buster. Bastard. With an E.
Ionized bastard.
A Lamau. Yeah, Michael Regan, any final thoughts before we bring this home?
I think that I'm my main complaint right now is I'm a little concerned they didn't give the show enough episodes to do what I think it's really capable of. I'm super interested to see where it's going. I feel like
It's
just
8 episodes, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like just because of the fact that we lost Ray Stevenson, and God only knows like how long it's going to be before we can film anything. I don't even think I don't think that they would have taken Balin out in the first season, probably of their own volition. I feel like he was meant to be a character with some longevity. So I'm kind of really interested, and I even wonder if maybe like if they had ended up recording an epilogue to kind of explain some stuff, or we don't know at all until the next season. But I'm so interested to see where it goes because I love the idea. You know, Star Wars has always toyed and played with the idea, you know, that even the bad guys are never entirely bad or never really bad without reason. Even Palpatine, if you read the books, was a diagnosed sociopath. You know, it was never without reason. But it's interesting because I honestly feel, and as I felt with Shin, with her first battle with Sabine in the first episode, you know, like whatever is making those sabers orange, if they didn't like bleed the crystal all the way or whatever, they don't come from a place of rage. They come from a place of seeming mourning. And I feel like Ahsoka has so much mourning in her heart. And you know, as Disney in general has had this really ongoing, interesting treatise on like, you know, on grief and how much it changes you. I feel like this is part and parcel of that. And you know, I don't want the show to end up like being a big bummer or like, you know, drop any of the really interesting action or like really fun kind of story beats, but I'm so interested to see what they end up doing with that. You know, I didn't say that concisely, but
I think you did. Michael,
I think
say your stupid shit.
the only other thing I had to say about this episode, just the pacing of it was like my one criticism is it felt like the show's been kind of slowing down a little bit, but also my expectations have been kind of distorted because we all thought that the pacing this show is going at is how like Mando season 3 was going to be paced.
Yeah.
And then we went at a breakneck pace. Like we all thought Minds of Mandalore would be like 5 or 6 episodes in,
right.
not 2. And so that sort of shifted our expectations, I think, of how this show will be paced. At least it did for me. And so I'm kind of readjusting it, which, again, it's not bad. It's just not exactly what I expected. And I want more, which is a good thing. So.
Hell yeah. I love it. Regan, where can the lovely people find you?
I am at Regaba on most things that I will allow people to come and visit me on. So you can find me there. And I'm you know, I am a Newt Regan on TikTok, so you can find me there. Regan like pew pew. But yeah.
Sensational. Michael, where?
Most of you can find me on Twitter at Local First Order. You can also find me on YouTube, All Remaining Systems. Through either place, you can find my series of Star Wars fan fiction I've written centered around original characters. I wrote an anthology called Heart of the Jedi, and there's an ongoing saga that is the sequel to all that called Elegy of Malevolence Abyss, which you can check out either my readings of on YouTube or through my Twitter. You can find my Archive of Our Own page and read them at your leisure. Also on YouTube, on All Remaining Systems, there is Ionized Bastards, my Star Wars RPG series. We wrapped season 1 several months ago. Here in the coming weeks, we'll likely be filming a sort of recap and discussion of season 1. And eventually getting on to season 2. You know, you'll see lovely people like Jerry from the Bombad cast playing 4D44, Dan Miller from Bro Axiom playing Zuso Yort, Alden Diaz from Octo Radio playing Thalbor Sheems, and that's it. That's the whole cast.
And Michael is the best Lucasfilm. If you're watching this, and I know you have moles, he's the best Star Wars fiction writer in the space. Period.
Aww.
End of sentence. So,
thank you, Reagan. You're the best.
I know.
Also, Jared's in Ionized Bastards.
Jared accidentally became the main character of Ionized Bastards.
Well, this is the Jared Bauman Stubbs cinematic universe. You are the main character of everything. So.
I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that. I didn't turn it down, but I didn't.
You did ask to be the Jedi, though.
I went into Ionized Bastards thinking we weren't allowed to play Force users. I thought we had to play scoundrels, and I said, I'm not allowed to use the Force, am I? You went, why would you think that? So I was like, well, duh, I want to fucking be a Force user. And we accidentally held really closely to Star Wars storytelling conventions and told a great Star Wars story. So go watch Ionized Bastards on the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. Connor, where?
Twitter, Duff a Banana, Instagram, ConmanJFO. I also podcast over at For the Republic podcast. I haven't been on in a while just because.
With my boyfriend.
I haven't. Yes, with Jared's boyfriend, Andrew. Great guy. We talk Star Wars like I do here. And then Star Wars editor fiction. You can follow Austin over on Instagram. I would say the website, but the website's down for maintenance right now. No idea when it's coming back up. We have a lot of stories there. I have a few in the works, all centered around Cal. Yeah, that's it.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, I'm gonna
Hell
throw
yeah,
in
brother.
Thank you,
Future
Jared,
Jared,
to
to
do
do
watching.
the rest of the
You guys can
vlogging
obviously
and such,
find
so
me at
Future
Dark
Jared,
Jedi
take it
2552 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts, and on our website, thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Hey, give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus. Hold on. I'm sorry. This clip disappears every time I try to use it. To Keandre Lloyd.
Colin Provolone. Sir.
So good.
Steal yourself, Colin! Steal yourself!
This is me stealing myself. To Elix Jones.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
And to our resident Sabine Wren stan, Ray Clausen, who wants you to donate to Equity Texas. Oh, hi, McAfee pop-up. That's fun. To, to Equity Texas to help protect queer kids in the Lone Star State. Like I said at the beginning of the show, Count Dooku versus Porter Angle. I want to get that out to you guys as soon as I possibly can, and as well as get started on a new show that is going to get access to. Patrons going to get access to early. I got some irons in the fire. I'm busting my ass at work, and I thank you guys so much for your patience with some stuff that is behind. But you will be rewarded for your patience. I can promise you that. Be sure to check out the Entertainment Community Fund in the description below as well, so you can help keep these striking artists on the picket line. I know I talk a lot about Dimension 20. I know Keandre Lloyd, our patron, is also a big fan of D20. Brendan Lee Mulligan had a rousing speech and did a really cool Dungeons and Dragons themed event on the picket line. I hope you guys go look into that, share that around, keep boosting the profile of this strike. I want to get an episode of the main show out so we can talk more about the strike and what's been going on lately once some schedules calm down. But anyway, thank you all so very much for watching. We are honored that you have joined us. And may the Force be with you always.
Stop!